Aloha, welcome to the Mr.G podcast. This is episode number 52. Like, oh, did the little 52. Today we're going to be talking a little bit of hoops, but it's going to transcend into real life. I am Mr. G, Gregory Brandt, the Mr.G podcast. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify podcasts, Apple podcasts, Amazon podcasts, and full episodes are uploaded onto Spotify and YouTube as well. So today, like I said, we're going to be talking a little bit of hoops. We're going to be talking in particular about the Memorial Day miracle and basketball culture. All right. So, for instance, in 2023 and the NBA draft, before that in the draft lottery, the Spurs win the draft lottery and the number one draft pick, the most hyped draft pick in 20 years since LeBron James, probably the most hyped draft pick in team sports, WEMBY, Victor Wembanyama is watching the draft. And, it comes down to a few teams. It comes down to Houston, Charlotte, and San Antonio. And then he finds out Houston isn't the team. And he's like, yes. And then his mom looks at him and he's like, hey, I didn't want to go to Houston, And Victor Wembanyama, grew up as a San Antonio Spurs fan because he grew up in France and the Spurs had an all-star one of the all-time great players, Tony Parker, who was born and raised in France and has businesses in France and is all Viva la France. And so there's pictures of Victor Wembanyama in a Tony Parker jersey. So he grew up a Spurs fan, but we'll get to that as well. Remind you, Victor Wembanyama is only 19 years old. Victor Wembanyama, he wasn't even alive for the first couple championships of the Spurs, right? I write about the San Antonio Spurs in my first book, Gonzo Education, and where I was during those championships too. But on this draft day that recently happened last June, the lottery that happened, Victor Wembanyama, like I said, he found out it wasn't Houston, and he's like, yes. And then the next team, it's not Charlotte. And then he found out it was San Antonio, and he was just relieved. He was happy. He's going to the San Antonio Spurs, the premier organization in sports, the highest winning percentage in all of American professional sports over the last 20 years, known for their great Hall of Fame players like Tony Parker, Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, David Robinson, known for their championships, known for going to the finals, known for being a dynasty, knowing for being in there fighting for a championship every year. And that wasn't always the case. There was a time when the Spurs were not the premier team location. They were the worst location to go to. They were the Atlanta Hawks. They were the Sacramento Kings. They were the Charlotte Hornets. If you got drafted to the San Antonio Spurs, oh, fuck, the Spurs were the laughing stock of the league at one point. And the thing is about basketball, more than any other sport, you have to believe that ball does some crazy things on that rim. It'll roll around, it'll bounce up and down, it'll hit the backboard. And there's a collective consciousness. Everybody's watching it. And if you're playing in their home team, everybody in the vicinity of the ball is watching the ball. And they've proven in physics how you can move a bell by not even touching the bell. But if you go an inch from the bell every day and you pretend with your mind that you're moving the bell by just going like that every single day, the huge bell, like a 2,000-pound bell, and you go to the bell every day, but you don't touch the bell, but you come close to touching it and you feel like you touching it in your mind, eventually that bell is going to start swaying. And manifestation is the new hot word in the last couple of years. And there's millions of TikTok videos about manifestation. And the fact is, the key point of manifestation is you have to believe. You have to believe that it's already happened. You have to believe that's true. And so in basketball, unlike any other sport in America, football, there's a new team that wins it every year. You could have the worst record one year, win the championship the next year. Baseball, same thing. You could have a horrible team one year, win the pennant the next year. Basketball, over the last 50 plus years, 70 years, really, there's only been a small percentage of teams that have won championships. Because in basketball, for whatever reason, well, the reason I'm explaining now is there's a mentality. You have to believe that it's already true. And if you're a basement dweller in the NBA, if you're the Sacramento Kings, I know I'm dogging on the Kings when they finally have a good team this year, and still with the Atlanta Hawks too. They're trying to get out of that mindset. They're trying to manifest like we're not losers, we're not the worst teams in the NBA. But the San Antonio Spurs were at that point once. I get what's another team? Charlotte Hornets, Memphis Grizzlies. Are we gonna have a Memphis Grizzlies Charlotte Hornets NBA Finals? No, I don't think so. You know, are we gonna have a even Oklahoma City? They actually made it to the NBA Finals, but who else? Like there's lots of teams in the league that are just horrible, and they've been horrible for years. Uh, and though they might get far, they might get to a conference finals, or they like the Sacramento Kings, but they'll never make it to the NBA finals. And me saying that, they'll never make it to the NBA finals. You'll never see a Sacramento Kings Atlanta Hawks NBA finals. And in the last 75 years, those two teams are the most loseringest teams. Neither of them have won championships. Neither of them have even been to the NBA finals. So those two teams are good examples. And you couldn't picture that Sacramento Kings in the NBA Finals versus the Atlanta Hawks. Like, that would never happen, But recently, Denver Nuggets won their first championship, and Denver Nuggets could have been considered one of those type of teams. Minnesota Timberwolves is a good example. Do you think the Minnesota Timberwolves are ever going to have a dynasty? Are they ever even going to make it to the conference finals? I remember they made it into the playoffs a few seasons ago, and that was the biggest deal in the world. And they have like top first round draft picks. But are you going to see a Minnesota Timberwolves Atlanta Hawks NBA Finals? No, you couldn't ever picture it. You couldn't ever manifest it, because in basketball, the same teams win the championships. And when you're manifesting something in life, just like in basketball, you need some sort of occurrence to come, and it's something unexpected. It's something surprising. And you could say, oh, well, you draft the number one draft pick. Not good enough. David Robinson was the number one draft pick in 1987, and he had a great career. He scored 71 points, won the scoring championship, won the multiple MVP awards, season MVP awards. But when it came playoff time, he could never get to the hump. He barely made it to the conference finals except for his rookie year. In 1995, Olajuwon took him behind the shed and made him his bitch. Plain and simple. The year that David Robinson won MVP, Olajuwon just jiggled and shaked and just made him look horrible in a very memorable series. And David Robinson couldn't go over the hump, so they draft another number one draft pick, Tim Duncan. Then they got the Twin Towers, but still not enough. They have Avery Johnson, a great point guard, but a head coach. It might have been Phil Jackson, I'm not sure, but a head coach in the NBA, a prominent figure, said no team will ever win a championship with Avery Johnson as the point guard. Avery Johnson, my mom's favorite player. Shout out AJ. Shout out mom. And but what happened? They did end up winning a championship, and they did manifest it. Even though everybody said, "Oh, the Spurs will never win a championship." David Robinson, oh, his time is up. He's going to be most remembered for 1995 losing to Hakeem Olajuwon. No, but they needed something else. They needed an unexpected occurrence, and they needed an unexpected hero, and that's where corny Sean Elliott comes in. Sean Elliott, the one-time All-Star, always loved the San Antonio Spurs, loved San Antonio, lived on the northeast side of San Antonio for so many years, from Arizona actually, but a San Antonio transplant. Loves San Antonio. Out of any Spurs players that I've met the most as a kid growing up, it was probably Sean Elliott. And the reason was because Sean Elliott would be at all the autograph signings. They'd have like free autograph signings at the HEB grocery stores in town, and not the star players would come, usually just the bench players. But Sean Elliott, for whatever reason, would be at every autograph signing. So all the kids in the neighborhoods that would collect basketball cards, and the ones that we had autographs, like David Robinson autograph was rare. But the Sean Elliott autograph, everybody had that one. Then there was the Willie Anderson and Terry Cummings. And, if you collected these Spurs autographs, the Sean Elliott one was so common because he's that kind of guy. He's a real nice guy. He had a pet store that he opened in the same neighborhood I lived in. Me and my brother would always go there. And the pet store didn't make money. He lost money on it, but he would like close it down and reopen it. And just because he liked animals and he had a large animal collection. So he was like the perfect candidate from this. And he's the only one to have ever, one of the first athletes to come back from like kidney surgery. Like he had his brother would give him his kidney. And so he had one kidney, and he had just come back. This was like his first year back. And the Spurs, like I said, at this time, they had never made it over this hump. And so they had a really good season. Sometimes they had the best season, the best record in the league, but they would still lose in the playoffs. And it was just a mentality in all of San Antonio, like, we can never get the championship. We can never get to the finals, you know. If we could just get to the finals, maybe we could win, you know. But they could never get over that hump. And like I said, just like in life and basketball, you need something unexpected, and it needs to be more unexpected than the draft pick. It needs to be as unexpected as the Memorial Day miracle. And so the Spurs, they were down by like 2 points, and they had to get a basket. And the Portland defense, they were playing game 2 of the NBA Finals in 1999, before the Spurs had ever won a championship, before Wemby was even born, and the Spurs were in the conference finals, and they were playing the Portland Trailblazers, who is a team that has been there before and were favored to win the series, even though the Spurs had home court advantage. But the Spurs in the finals, and that would never happen. That's like the Timberwolves in the finals, right? Back then, that's what the mentality. And so the Spurs were down by 2 points, and they had like a few seconds left, and it's like, oh man, the Spurs are going to lose game 2 at home. Here we go again. Spurs are going to lose in the playoffs. Same story. And you know, they passed the ball and there's only a few seconds left. I'm saying from my memory here. And then they passed the ball, and there's only a few seconds left. The Portland defense is tight. They can't even get a shot off. They can't even get inside the 3-point line, right? And then so their last option, they throw it to Sean Elliott in the corner. And similar to the Ray Allen 3 of the Miami Heat versus San Antonio Spurs in the NBA Finals, but the Memorial Day miracle, Sean Elliott's fading out of bounds with hardly any time on the shot, and hits a 3-pointer that just like transcends time and space. And time actually paused at that moment that the ball was in the air. And the thing, I'm trying not to get choked up here, because that shot just changed everything. You talk about the butterfly effect. You can break it down to one basket. This shot, this on Memorial Day, 1999, just changed the whole culture, the whole mindset. It changed everything. Like I said, it seems like time stopped in the air as that shot was going in. And I was watching it at like a big party, and like, and I could, and I'm a dark empath. I can feel other people's energies and vibrations. And the whole city of San Antonio was just watching this shot, and just hoping, like why not us? Why not me? Why not San Antonio? Why not the San Antonio Spurs? And and the shot just like goes in, and it just like it changes the whole mindset of everything. And like from that point on, it was just like fuck it. Why not us? Why not me? Why not San Antonio? And they go on and they win the series handily. You know, the momentum changed, and the Spurs go on to their first ever NBA Finals, where they meet up with the New York Knicks, the most famous team in basketball. And even then, it's like, hey, we made it here. You know, why not? Why not us? Fuck it, why not? You know, you look at Wemby's game 2, all right, of the Las Vegas showcase, all right. He had a horrible game 1, and everybody's like, he's a bust. He's not going to make it. He's horrible. He's a, you know. And then in game 2, he's only playing 2 games, and he knew that going in. He could have easily had another bad game, or just, you know, put up 8 points, 5 rebounds. But in game 2, he's like, fuck it. I'm here. I'm alive. I'm breathing. I have arms. I, I I have legs. I have arms. Let's do this. Let's fucking show them. And so that shot, before the Spurs ever won a championship, like, you just knew that something had changed. And it's about believing and manifestation. And when Sean Elliott hit that fadeaway 3-pointer, every single person in San Antonio, it went from, oh, we'll never win, we'll make it to the playoffs, we can't ever get that far, you know what, we've never been to the finals, it's, you know, we need a bolt of lightning, it's not going to happen, you know. But then the bolt of lightning came in the form of a fadeaway 3-point shot. And I'm not supposed to swear, but like even in the NBA finals, it's just like you're playing the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden, the most famous arena in the history of basketball and in the history of sports. And it's like we made that shot. Like that was a tough shot and it went in. We are winning, you know. And there was no doubt in my mind. Man, I can't believe I'm getting so choked up over talking about a basketball game. I had a little bit of cannabis before time. Never use cannabis when you're talking about emotional basketball. All right. But seriously, that shot by Sean Elliott, it changed the whole culture. And in sports and basketball, in NBA basketball, if you have a culture like the Minnesota Timberwolves or the Atlanta Hawks, and you can never picture them in the NBA finals. And the Spurs were like that. And the way it transcends to real life is when you want to manifest something, when you want something to come into your life, you have to believe it to be true. All right. The play. The Memorial Day Miracle is a game-winning three-point field goal by Sean Elliott in Game 2 of the 1999 Western Conference Finals between the Portland Trailblazers and the San Antonio Spurs in the Alamo Dome on May 31st, 1999. Side note, I was watching this game at somebody's house, this jerk, JR, and he ordered pizza. And when he started, the pizza came, it was Little Caesars, and he started handing out the pizza. And I was polite. I was like, "Could I have a slice?" And he's like, "Yeah, you got $1?" And nobody else had to pay, but for me, he charged $1, and I was like, "No, I don't have $1." And he's like, "Can't I have a slice?" You know. And then so I had to sit there hungry while everybody ate pizza, and then I was just like thinking, man, if anytime I ever get pizza, I'm giving it out to fucking people. You can either be the hero or the villain in life. So I take that moment as a learning lesson. Like, and anytime I've had pizza, like I've given pizza to bus drivers, I've given pizza to homeless people. If I have pizza, guess what? We're giving pizza out. You want some pizza? You want some pizza? Who wants pizza? Huh? Because that day I did not get some pizza. That's where you either become the hero or the villain. You either want to, push with that pain that you felt on others, or you don't want others to feel that pain that you felt. And I'm the latter. So I'm the good guy. I'm Batman. All right. So the Memorial Day Miracle. This is a podcast for the ages, huh? It happened in that day that I didn't get pizza. I think I got some crust at the end. But Damon Stoudemire, the Trailblazers, fouled out with 12 seconds left in the fourth quarter, and the lead was 85-83. The Spurs called a timeout. They advanced the ball to half court. Elliott caught the inbounds near the sideline. He stayed on his toes while turning to shoot a three-pointer, careful not to set his heels down out of bounds, which would cause the turnover. Rasheed Wallace was running at him trying to block the shot. Elliott arched the ball over Wallace's outstretched hand and into the basket with 9 seconds left to give the Spurs a lead. The game was broadcast on NBC as part of an NBC branding. Elliott will throw it in into Sean Elliott. He fires a three. He hits it. The miracle designation relates to the combination of circumstances involved. Number one, as revealed after the Spurs championship run, Elliott had been playing with focal segmental glomeruloneurosis, which would require a kidney transplant. He would likely have not been involved in the game if he had gone through with the transplant during the season. The Spurs trailed by 18 early in the third quarter and not led prior to Elliott's shot. So Sean Elliott knew that he was going to have a kidney transplant, and that's the most serious thing. He ended up having to get a kidney from his brother, but imagine that as he's fading out of bounds, trying not to put his heels down because that would have a turnover. He's like he's shooting this shot. That's what I'm saying in life. You have to just not give a fuck. Just be like, I'm here, I'm breathing. Why not? Like, why not? And if you want to manifest something that seems so far-fetched and like a shot like that, then you just have to a lot of times in life when you want change will happen from unexpected circumstances. And the same with manifestation. If you want to manifest something, a lot of times it has to come, you have to change the beliefs that you already had. With the San Antonio Spurs, they had to change the belief that they were losers, that they were bottom dwellers, that and the smallest thing in life, a single basket, can lead to a dynasty. And you talk about the butterfly effect. What if that shot didn't go in? What if the Spurs didn't? They lose the game, they lose the series. The Spurs are still today. They don't go to win all those championships. And guess what? They don't draft Wemby as the number one pick either. It just changes the whole course of history. And the Spurs actually trailed by 18 early in the third quarter of that game. Portland aftermath. The Spurs won the next 2 games in Portland and 4 games to win their first ever conference title. In the 1999 NBA Finals, that beat the New York Knicks in 5 games to win their first NBA title. The Spurs would compete in the Western Conference Finals in 9 out of the next 18 years and make it to the NBA Finals 5 more times, winning all but once to spark a dynasty. So, like I said, that shot, it really changed the course of history, and not just the Spurs history, and also everybody's history as well. And a butterfly effect, that's a butterfly flaps its wings in the Indian Ocean, and it leads to a series of events which causes a hurricane in the Pacific Ocean. And they've proven that to be accurate. And I think this is a good example. If that shot doesn't go in, if his heels hit the ground, and if the Spurs lose, they don't go on to have a dynasty. I remember this was in the Alamo Dome, but they had a public referendum on a new stadium right after they won the championship. And the reason it barely passed, and that's why the SBC Center was built. But the only reason it did pass was because the Spurs had won the championship the previous year. That was the very first time I voted. It was for the Spurs' new SBC arena. And, they went on to win, 4 other championships and make it to 5 other NBA finals over the next, 10, 15 years. And now with drafting of the number 1 draft pick of all time, God willing, he will probably be another 20 years of championships and NBA finals. And like I said, it all comes down to that shot. If that shot doesn't go in, then the Spurs don't win, and the momentum changes and everything changes. The Portland was, favored to win that series, and they probably would have won that series if he did not make that shot. So that's why it's the Memorial Day miracle. And in life as well, in fiction and nonfiction, you have a hero, a protagonist, and at the beginning of the story, he or she is trying to accomplish a goal, and many times during the course of that goal, an unexpected occurrence happens that either propels you to accomplish the goal or propels you to learn something that you didn't know about yourself at the start of the journey. And this is an example of the unexpected hero, Sean Elliott. He loves San Antonio so much. He was drafted by the Spurs. He played for the Spurs for a few years. Then he was traded to Detroit for Dennis Rodman, of all people. And then Dennis Rodman played on the Spurs for a few seasons. That was a crazy pairing, Dennis Rodman and David Robinson. That was night and day. Dennis Rodman, the notorious self-proclaimed bad boy, and David Robinson, probably one of the most honest, God-fearing Christian basketball players of all time. He didn't attend the autograph sessions like Sean Elliott, though. A David Robinson autograph was rare. But yeah. So growing up in San Antonio as a Spurs fan, me and my twin brother, we didn't have toys growing up. We didn't have much excitement in our house, so we would play basketball and we would watch every Spurs game, and we were the biggest Spurs fans. And like I said, when they had like autograph sessions or little basketball sessions free for the kids, we would always go there and collect autographs of the Spurs players. And this was before they ever won any championships. And to see them have so much success and to draft such high quality players is a great thing. I wouldn't be a basketball fan now if I hadn't grown up in San Antonio and been cheering for the San Antonio Spurs my whole life. So I do like the Texas Longhorns. I graduated from the University of Texas in Austin. So I do cheer for the Texas Longhorns. They open the season, the college football season, at Alabama. So that's the game everybody's gonna be watching. And from here in Honolulu, interesting podcast today. Very I got very emotional over basketball. But from here in